Hello, everyone. I am Bernadette Thompson. I'm a civil servant. I'm a deputy director in the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. I also co-chair a cross-government race network called Race to the Top Grade 6 and 7. And I'm just going to have a quick conversation or just share my reflections on the topic fostering employee network groups. I think if anyone out there will agree with me, employee networks really important part of organization, and they do add so much value. If we think about the last 12 months, coming in and out of different lockdowns, and employee network groups have really been there to help support the different groups within our organizations to thrive and survive during this really difficult time. So I'm just going to share my reflections on what I think we need to do to foster staff networks or employee resource groups, depending on what you call them, within your various organizations. So first of all, I will give a shout out to Sharon Inkotaria, who's written this book. She hasn't paid me to give this book a plug, but the book is called The Incredible Power of Staff Networks. If you haven't got the book, and you are a network chair, or within an organization, you're thinking about what you can do to support your employee network groups, I really do recommend this book. It's kind of, I would say, the Bible of running successful staff networks and also supporting employee network groups. So you can also Google some of the work that Sharon does, because it really does take you into detail of what it's like to run a successful employee network group, but also as a business, what you can do to support your employee networks. I really do love the little picture of the Incredibles. Employee network groups really do add a lot of value to organizations, and I think we really do need to support them, especially during these times. So what do employee networks do within an organization? And a lot of the time we talk about inclusion, creating an inclusive culture. Employee network groups are, intrinsic owners of some of the issues that we talk about people from different underrepresented groups. So they really do help us to drive that culture. Even though you have a diversity and inclusion team or an equalities and diversity team, whatever you want to call it, there's so much resource that you can provide to that team. So what I have found within my role as an employee network chair, but more broadly in my role as leading diversity and inclusion across an organization, is that the employee network groups really do help to create and drive that culture of inclusion and belonging within your organization. I usually call them the foot soldiers within organizations. They bring you the insights from their members, so that we can enable people to thrive and survive within our workplaces. So the role of employee network groups, and there are different roles that they play within organizations. Critical friend, and that's really important, because as organizations, you need someone to shine, or a group of people to shine the light or put a mirror up in front of you, spotlight some of the processes, some of the practices that can be improved on. So employee network groups are critical friends. They might give you feedback that's pretty hard to swallow, but I think it's important within the organization to get that feedback, and more importantly, act. From a people perspective, I always say they're like from the people for the people. So most employee network groups are members of organizations. Lots of them have their day job, but they do this because they want to make a difference. So they bring the voice of the people to the organization to get you to improve on certain things. Just looking at that magnifying glass there, spotlighting on different groups of people. So they bring the insights from those underrepresented groups and what you can do within your organization to make it better. They hold a number of events, and especially during the diversity dates. And this is really great for the inclusion kind of conversation, creating that culture of inclusion, helping our leaders to become more culturally aware. And then that little kind of circle there around accountability, definitely they hold the organization to account. People who are responsible for driving this in the business, they become that critical friend, and they help you to actually know really and truly how the messages, how the initiatives are landing on the ground, and amplifying the voices of their members. That's really important, and they support their members as well. So there's quite a bit that employee networks do within organizations. And if you think about it, in most instances, these are volunteers within our organizations. So moving on from this, and I've touched on some of this, what must we do? What must organizations do? We have to support our employee network groups. And when I say support, yes, indeed, I'm talking about a budget and I'm talking about resource. In some organizations, it might well be you need to resource your staff network and pay for their chairs, pay for them as a resource, because there might be some specific areas within your organizations that you might need to really shift some cultures, and it would need some heavy lifting. So having someone volunteer is not really going to do the job. You need full-time resource in there. When I talk about support, it does cost to undertake some of the actions in an employee network group, thinking about events, thinking about, inspirational speakers. Some of these speakers charge a fee. So really thinking about your employee network groups and the resource that is available to them, be it a budget and be it time as well. It's really important to engage on a regular basis. Have it in the diary if you work within HR or the D&I team within your organization. Make sure you have a bi-monthly, a monthly catch-up with your employee network groups. Understand better what they're doing, but understand how they can help you to fulfill some of the actions in your diversity strategy. I have regular conversations with members of my employee network groups so that we know what everyone is doing, and sometimes we're not duplicating some of the activities specifically around the diversity dates. Listen, organizations must listen. They have the collective voice from their members. They know these issues, and they know how some of the actions that we have taken are landing within the business. So make time to listen to the feedback given by your employee network groups. Build their capability. And for me, this is an important point. A number of employee network group chairs or co-chairs or executive committee members are junior within their organizations, but they're leaders in their own right because they lead the employee network group. So you need to invest in them as leaders within your organizations. You need to commit to building their capability. This needs to be part of the support. And reward them. Look, there's nothing like, I'm an employee network chair, and you bust your gut, you work so many hours, you do your day job, and then you pick up your employee network later on. But it is important to reward them and recognize when they have done an excellent job, where they've gone over and beyond. Shine the light and spotlight them. Make sure that the actions that they take as part of being a network chair is part of their appraisal, is part of their business objectives. Have the conversation and reward success, reward where they've gone over and beyond. In May, we have Employee Network, National Employee Network Day, where we celebrate our employee networks. So linking with that, it was a movement. It was a day created by Sharon in Qatar, whose book I spoke about at the beginning of this presentation. I can't remember what date in May it is this year, but it definitely, I think it's around the 15th of May, but don't quote me on that. Please Google and look for what day it is this year. And it's a really good opportunity to showcase your networks during that time and really reward them. I remember last year doing my own department, we had a kind of meeting, albeit we were all virtual, with our permanent secretary, and he really, gave them his heartfelt thanks for the role they had played in really supporting employees within their networks during the lockdown period, to make sure that you use that as an opportunity to reward them. And I'm not just talking about money, a thank you wouldn't go amiss from the most senior person within the organization, dropping them an email just to say, thank you for the work that you do. Nominating a senior sponsor to champion their network. So be it race, be it gender, be it sexual orientation, really making sure you've got a senior stakeholder who's overseeing their activities, but really amplifying the work that they do. So nominate a senior sponsor who can support them and amplify the work they do across the organization. So what must employee networks do? You must plan. You must have a vision. You can't just, have a scattergun approach. What do you plan to do within your network? Have a business plan. It doesn't have to be so detailed. It doesn't have to be so complex, but it's important to have a plan. And you can work with your D&I team. For example, you can say, well, this is what we plan to do, just so you don't duplicate events and stuff like that, but have a plan. What value are you going to give to the business? There's one thing about existing as an employee network, but how are you adding value? Work collaboratively with the business, I've mentioned that. So have regular meetings with your HR teams or your D&I teams, depending on how it's arranged within your organization. But you need to work together with the business. You're not at loggerheads. Yes, you're a critical friend, but you need to work in collaboration to create that culture of inclusion. Indeed, provide feedback to your organization. I've already said that you're a critical friend, but I would say provide feedback based on qualitative and quantitative data. I'll call out our BAME network in MHCLG. They have something that they call the BAME Voice, and periodically they're on really short polls on different topics, and they feed that back to us in HR to say, we asked our members this is the result. We just thought that you would know, so that it can help inform some of the decisions you're making around policy and guidance and all of that. So provide feedback to the organization and review progress. And if you want to know whether you're doing well at the network, just ask the members. It's as simple as that. If you want to find out how you're doing, what they think of the initiative you're engaging with, just ask them. So regularly survey your members so often to find out whether you're doing the things they want you to do, or whether some of the actions you're taking are landing quite well with them. Supporting the members is something that you must do. I'm not saying taking the role of trade unions, absolutely not, but having a conversation, having little membership meetings with your members, just finding out what you can do to support them better. Engaging with the champion if you've got one. If you don't have one, look for one, ask for one, reach out to someone who you think can champion your employee network, and be active. And when I say active is, don't just exist and do nothing. Employee networks must act. They must have activity to help drive the actions required for that particular group. One of the best ways to do this, if you don't know where to start from, is thinking about, well, what diversity dates do we have in the diary? What can we do around those dates? So that is a good way to start. But more importantly, I think a combination of all of this will really help you to be a successful employee network. I didn't mention comms there, so you need to have some form of a comms plan. Being on social media does help, because that helps to amplify the work that your network does. So all of these things together will help you to build a successful employee network.